Hey guys, and welcome back. If you remember in the last video, this is where we were at. We got the ability to enter a address in, a location, and get our weather for the area that we chose. As you can see, when the app starts by default, it just kind of loads forever because we don't give it a location to look for. We're going to solve that in this video. We're going to learn how to get the current location from the phone. We have to ask permission from the user to do this one time, to use the location while they're using the app. And then what I'd like to do is the first time you launch the app or when you open the app, it automatically gets the weather in your local area, and then if you want to search other places, then that's fine. So to do that, we're going to have to, let's say we can add another function inside our location class, which we're already in. That'll be something like, let's see where this one ends. This one ends down here. So it'll be another function that says like get current location. Let's just say get current location. For now, I'm not sure what it's going to return. Just close it and open it. Let's do some research the same way I would. Get current location, iOS Swift 4. Searched this before, pretty recently. So we don't actually have to do the map part, which this is showing, but looks like we can use the location manager. We're gonna have to request either one of these. I'm gonna go with this one to use it in the foreground. If we were gonna do like some kind of like widget where it's kind of always keeping track of your weather, I would say in the background. The thing with this is when you request always authorization, it has that little blue bar that you've seen on top of apps that says somebody's currently using your location, like Uber or Google Maps, which we don't need, and I think it generally freaks people out. Freaks me out. Let's see if I can do this. Just thinking about where I want to put this. I think if I put this here, there's going to be an issue. There's going to be an issue because it's just a class. So it looks like we have to, we can check if I wonder what happens if we do this real quick. Location manager, location services enabled. Doesn't look like that's a thing anymore. So this will be a, let's see what this returns. I'm just curious. Location equals location manager, location. Request the one-time delivery of the user's current location. That's actually exactly what we need. We also need seems like because I'm putting it after an if statement, it's giving me different results. Am I spelling something wrong? Location. What's the problem here? Requests. When in use authorization, and then location manager. enabled, permission. I'm looking for something that says like if they've already given authorization. Let's change our search a little bit. Not liking that. iOS Swift 4. Get current location. This block of code is something that we could use, but that's generally used for like when you're tracking their location over time. This function gets implemented when you have a CL location manager, and it gets updated whenever the user moves, and then you can like move a pin on a map or whatever you need to do. So it looks like location's gonna see what the definition of this is. I was assuming it would return a location. Here, Swift 4. Request location once. Hacking with Swift, a website that we've used before and a good one. We did load, delegate self, request location. So this doesn't look like. Okay, so it looks like with this, when we request location, we have to still implement this did update load locations manager. For that, we're going to need this delegate. Delegate in general in Swift is a set of functions that have to do with something like a location manager that we have to implement so we're ready for whatever responses might get back. So right now, because we don't have any of these functions implemented, it says type location does not conform to protocol and its object protocol. So now we can fix this. This is not what we want. That is not what I meant. So this needs to be an NS object, and it should complain about this manager. Description, no. It should complain that we don't have the correct functions for CL location manager, unless none are mandatory. Did update locations. And the second one was did fail there. If let location go locations dot first. So location is a CL location, which will have coordinates. It's going to have a latitude, longitude. So let's see if it returns. We'll just print out the coordinates. Otherwise, it'll print out this error. And then I'm just going to say on load. We also have to fix our refresh weather function, which originally we were just updating the UI. So what we should do is store this last location that we got the weather for, and when we hit refresh, just do a request with the same weather. Let's do that real quick. Get current weather. So it looks like either way we're going to call get current weather. We're going to have coordinates stored. And so either way we're going to have these coordinates. So I want to say our last chords equals coordinate 2D. So what I want to say is this is just a general variable that we're going to have, and when we get a good result, no matter what, when we get a good result, yeah, we'll do this. When we get a good result, I'll say self dot last chords equals coordinates that we passed into this function, and then over here, I don't want to use it by default, but let's say weather dot get current weather. The coordinates that we'll use is weather dot last chords. So this is something that happens commonly. This last chords variable is not there. I believe it's because we didn't save this, which you can do with Command S or File and Save. So now that it's in there, we should get it. Yeah, cool. Cool. And then we want to do self.update UI. This beginning part on view to load will address once we're able to get our current location. So I'll say location dot get current location. Let's see what that prints out. I'm trying to stick to the idea that most of this stuff's not prepped for, so I don't have a ready answer to every possible mistake that might happen throughout creating this app. So there's going to be times like this where I'm just going to have to test something and see what happens, and if it has the result that we want, then we'll go with it. Otherwise, we adjust. Well, that's not good. That's our first runtime crash, I believe. There's a bunch of code, a bunch of crazy stuff. This is not really readable, but if you scroll to the top, you'll usually get a pretty helpful message. So this app is attempted to access privacy-sensitive data without a usage description. The app's info.plist must contain an S location when in usage description key, with a string value explaining to the user how the app uses the data. This is not super new, but so it looks like there's two of them. NS internal inconsistent exception. Delegate must respond to location manager. It did update locations. I thought it did, but let's fix this first error and see if that fixes it. So in our info.plist, we're going to have to put in a string that explains why we need to use the user's information. So I can add a property, NS location. I remember exactly. Here we go. It's under privacy. Location when in use. That's what we need. Wish we could read the whole thing. I guess we could. Location when in use description. It expects a string. You can say, can we use your location to get the current weather? I'm trying to remember what there's like a prompt that says like whatever this app's called, in our case weather, would like to use your location for. So I'm just gonna say to get the current weather near you. Let's run it again, see if we get that second error, or if it had to do with the fact that we couldn't track locations yet. Another crash. Delegate must respond to location manager did update locations. Let's see about that. Feels like we are responding to that. What we might have to do is move this over to the main thread. Well, not the main thread, but to a view controller. I think there's a possibility that I might have to do this kind of stuff there. So let's just cut this out real quick. This is going to complain because we don't have CL location, core location, location manager. Okay. Let's just pull this stuff out of here. I'm not positive that this is the issue, but I think it might have to do with it. I guess we can just drop this in here. Get current location. Just here now. I think before we do this, we should do this in the view did load. And see what we have here. If it gives me issues too much, then I'll look up the error or something like that. So it's not a compile error. Those two errors were both runtime errors, meaning they happen only once the app tried to do something. And this one is as well. Delegate must respond to location manager did update locations. Did update. We haven't implemented, that's why it's not on this list. So let's just Google it. Delegate must respond to. This is pretty much the same exact thing we're doing. We imported core location. We have this delegate. We have our manager. Oh. Okay. So when you have a delegate, you have to indicate what's supposed to be taking care of these functions. And we weren't doing that. Manager.delegate. Self manager. So we're saying that the view controller will handle any location related things. And now I'm assuming if I comment this out, we'll get an error that says up here that says does not conform to this delegate. It must handle did update location. What I just pressed was Command Shift and K. It does this cleans up any errors that came up recently, and does. I thought it would maybe show the error now that I updated, but let's uncomment this. Let's hit play. Let's see if that was our only issue. I don't know if we're gonna get our coordinate just based on that, but it shouldn't cause a crash, I hope. Since we gave it a delegate now, we requested in-use authorization. We added the description to the plist. And so, we'll see if we get something that we expect. It's taking a bit longer than usual because I did a clean, but might not be the reason. Launching weather, attaching weather to iPhone 6. That's what we were looking for. This is the little prompt I was talking about. Allow weather to get access to your location while you're using the app. And then we have our description, which we can change to whatever, but it says to get the current weather near you. Say allow. Operation couldn't be completed. That probably had to do with our current location. I wonder if now that we gave it, I'm wondering now that we gave it permission, if it'll work now. Yeah, so now I gave the latitude and longitude. Okay, so I mean, that's gonna work from now on. It only asks you the initial time that you install the app, whether you want to let the app use your location. But, and it looks like it did do the rest of what we wanted, which was get the weather for that. So it looks like the first time that we do that, we ask for authorization, the current location won't be able to be used because it'll say it failed. So I wonder if there's a way of knowing when they say yes or no. Spelled that wrong. Location manager. I wonder if this request state has anything. No. For now, what I'm going to do is just get current location. I'm going to throw this in here. See, that doesn't make any sense. I just called the same function within itself. What I meant to say was when the view loads, request authorization, we only have to do that once. And then what we want to say is, I mean, I guess by default just get the location, but also I want to do it whenever you like press a button, which I guess we can add. Location icon iOS. I want to have like a little icon next to the search bar, I suppose. Yeah, something like this. try to use something. It's got to be transparent. Try to use something that users are used to. Downloads. Where'd that go? Save that as location. Looks like it's gonna go on our desktop. Okay. We'll throw that into our assets. And then I guess we can just throw in the storyboard real quick. We'll add a button. We're still gonna probably move around this UI. I was also thinking about if this video was short, which is ending up to not be the case. I wanted to add like a high and low for the day, and maybe get a better summary description from another part of our weather API. So there's a few places we can do this. What I think I want to do is take some room off of this. It's saying that it's going to fix it, but I don't want it to. So here's where the constraints are set for each item. So this is clicked on. I'm going to say take off that trailing. I want to add a button somewhere there. Take out the text by going to the details tab, moving that, adding an image, which is location. That is gigantic. Obviously not the size that we want, which is its stock size. I think it should be like 30 by 30. And it won't size down because it's not like set based on anything yet. So I'm gonna do Control press drag to search. I'm gonna say center vertically. Okay, well the height went down, but the width did not. Did not set the width. Center vertically, and then Control space click and say horizontal spacing. Okay, so not obviously where we want it, but I want it to be like something like that. So right now its constraints are obviously off. Width equals 30. Leading space to search does not equal that. Leading space to search should equal a short amount, 21. And then I'll say trailing space, safe area. I aligned it to the search bar rather than the search entry. So something like that. That looks a little, I don't even know what the word, janky to me. How about we restart this guy completely? So clear constraints. This, I'll say, put this back where it was. Okay. So I cleared the constraints on this, so we're going to have to reset those values, and you can see here that there's no constraints on it. So what I want to say is 30, 30, check these boxes, add constraints to the left, to the right of the search button, and I guess we can center it vertically there. And now I want to add it to give ourselves some room here. Then I want to add it here to say outlet, put an action, get weather near me, connect it. So when this gets pressed, we should get current location. And then I guess in general we can, instead of calling this refresh weather, which we don't need to do anymore, we can say get current location. And it looks like we should maybe change the name of that because that's not an accurate description. Because what we're doing is getting the current location and then getting the current weather near me. So we can either separate that into two separate tasks, or we can refactor the name of this. The reason why I'm doing it this way is because this should change spelling for all the uses of this rather than just one. And Swift, this is more recent. Xcode, this is in a cool way where it shows you every use of it. And I'm going to say get current weather at location. Get current weather near me. I'm okay with that. Okay, so I changed it on the places. We didn't have to worry about like forgetting one. So then when the view loads, which means you can see the screen first time you launch the app, it gets the weather near you, which gets your current location. And when your location updates up here, it prints it out, which is not what I thought was happening. I thought we were already using, let me get us some more space. I thought we were already getting the location based on those coordinates. We'll just jump in here and see what we're getting. So this can get weather near me, which shouldn't do anything. It should just request location, the location prints out, and I thought we were using it, but I guess we weren't. Okay, so it's just getting the latitude, longitude. This location, by the way, is a custom location that can be set. I guess currently we can change it to be Apple's headquarters, which should change our coordinates, unless that's the default. This simulates a bicycle ride through the city. Okay, looks like that's not working anymore. Okay, this time it changed. So that's obviously not what we want to happen. Let's clean that up. Once you get the location, then what I want is let latitude equals, actually I'm wondering if there's a way of changing a CL location. I'm wondering if there's a simple way to change a CL location into a coordinate 2D. Looks like there is not. Or I can just use this here and say location dot latitude coordinate dot latitude location dot coordinate dot longitude. Now that we have that in there, it should, the first time we load up the app, get our current location, depending on the simulation, the simulator, and return our weather. Okay, so searching worked, but this thing here is not. Why is that? Let's check something simple, like if that button is clickable currently. If I accidentally put it in this image, which I didn't, then it wouldn't be clickable. User interaction enabled. That's good. When we do press it, what happens? Oh, I just created this, but I didn't use it. That doesn't help at all. Weather, what we need to do is call that same function, get current weather based on our coordinates, which is this, which I just created. The yellow warning was saying that I created it but wasn't using it. And then when we get the weather, we have to do self.refresh. Refresh UI. What did I call this? Update UI. Rookie moves. Rookie moves, but hopefully seeing the rookie moves will keep you from making them, or encourage you that someone that's built a lot of apps still makes these mistakes, or whatever, you know. I hope it resonates with somebody, and I hope this weather pops up right now. And it did. That's great. So now we can get the weather based on our current location. Last run I put in a zip code to see how it would handle that, because I think ideally at the end of the day we're gonna have this just as a zip code. And looks like it updates right away. And I'm wondering if I don't know if you remember in the last video when we were making the same request over and over, it looked like it wasn't updating. Maybe because it was too close to where the last request was from or something like that. So when I moved it around, like 11104 is Sunnyside, Queens, where I grew up, and 11605 is closer to where I am now. It looks like it updates right away. So we got the location stuff working. We still have to consider the fact that we have to handle the case where the first time you put in your weather info, put in your authorization to use your location, you're not going to get weather back because it's not going to update. Even though I really thought it would, because when we come up here and we say requesting use authorization, it gets current weather near me, it requests location, and it can't. Okay, no, it can't get the current location. I wonder, I'm sure somebody else has ran into that problem before. Get location when authorized. So it looks like this is the actual developer documentation. Determining the availability of location services. Location services enabled. I thought I looked for that a few times. Or maybe it actually wants me to, like, for whatever reason. Okay. So we can use this if. So putting the exclamation at the front is saying if it's not enabled, then ask for it. And I'm going to say otherwise, get the current weather. So that's a little cleaner. And then what else can we use? I guess what we can do for now is update what shows by default to be something doesn't look like. I don't know, that's not confusing. I'm just gonna put all these like that. And then by default, what are we doing? By default, we're not doing anything crazy, so let's just run that. So now we're checking if location services aren't enabled, ask for permission. Otherwise, get the current weather near the user. Maybe I should say near user rather than near me. But that's fine for now. In this case, we're not going to see what we did, but yeah, that looks fine. The only thing I noticed was that this button by default is not hidden. So when the UI gets updated, it gets unhidden. So that's gonna get called no matter what. I guess we can just have it hidden by default. And go down here to drawing and hit it as hidden. Try that one more time. Then I promise this video's over. We did more or less what we wanted to do. In the next video, I want to pull some more of this data. It looks like when you get the daily weather data, there's a lot more information like temperature max, temperature min. I want to put like a max min next to it, and then probably grab this this summary from the day. Seems to be way more descriptive. Partly cloudy overnight, rather than partly cloudy. And I think that would be good. So that's going really fast. We're gonna have to tweak that too, it looks like. But one thing we're not noticing here is you have to handle when the keyboard pops up. In this case, I think it'll be fine. I think it'll go up just to here. But we're gonna have to handle a delegate with the keyboard, which basically says when somebody presses return on the keyboard, or if like we'll make it so if they tap outside of the screen that it'll clear the information. Anyways, long video, lots of errors. Hopefully you learned a lot. If you did, please subscribe, hit the like button, leave any comments if something wasn't explained clearly. We'll get to the next video shortly, and we'll clean up the app a little bit, make sure all this location stuff works the way we want it to, and then we're gonna start adding a little bit more detailed information about the weather when they request it, and then make this app look a whole lot nicer. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.